Hi guys! So today I'm going to be doing another tag video for you, but this one is going to be about books. It's been a while since I did a book video, and that's because I've been reading really slowly since my last roundup video. So I'm sorry if anybody missed those. I missed doing them, but I have been reading really slowly, like I just said. But this is going to be a book tag. This is the intimidating to be read list tag. I found this tag on Myrmidryad, which I hope I'm saying right, which I'm probably not, who is Emma. Yeah, so I will leave her video down below. Not that she doesn't do like makeup or anything, she sort of does like talky vlogs for the most part, but she is interesting. Question number 1. What is a book you've been unable to finish? So for that one, I have a few books that I've been unable to finish, but for this one I wanted to choose one that I've tried to start a couple of times, and that is going to be Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I actually really love the cover of the particular edition I have. But yeah, I have started this novel a couple of times and never really got through it. I think I've only ever gotten like a couple of chapters in, which is unfortunate because I've seen at least 2 different movie versions of this story and I really love the story. So I would love to be able to read the novel. I think just Charlotte Bronte's writing style doesn't really click with me, but yeah, definitely one that I still want to finally get through. Question number 2 is a book you haven't read because you just haven't had the time. And the book I picked for this is one that I don't actually own, though I would like to own it and its prequel, and that is Another Day by David Levithan. David Levithan is one of my all-time favorite writers and has been since high school, and Another Day is a sequel to One Day, which is a book about this person who never lives a second day in the same body, and it's a really weird story, but it's actually really beautiful. And Another Day is a sequel to that. Then question number 3 is a book you haven't read because it's a sequel. I picked The Tale of the Body Thief by Anne Rice. This is the 4th book in the Vampire Chronicles series. I have read the first 3 and I really need to get back to the series because I do really like it, but there are some parts of The Queen of the Damned that are quite tough to get through just because Anne Rice was going through like a tough time when she was writing that, is what I heard. And so it sort of shows through in her writing that it just wasn't up to her usual standard. So I wanted to take a break from the vampire novels after that one, and I just never got back into the series. I also own The Tale of the Body Thief, but I couldn't find it. So I'll have to find it before I can read it, obviously. Question number 4 is a book you haven't read because it's brand new. And I couldn't think of a brand new book that I wanted to read, so I just picked one that's new-ish, and that is Rumble by Ellen Hopkins. It came out in 2014, so it's still kind of new. Ellen Hopkins is another one of my favorite writers since I was a teenager, and a cool thing that she does is she has these really giant books, but they're all written in verse, so they're really quick to like read through. And they're really hard to put down because it's so easy to be like, oh, one more poem. But it's really cool because her books deal with like some really hard subjects like drug addiction and like mental illness and depression and living in like a religious household. One of her books, I think it's Burned, is about, I think, a Mormon girl and like troubles she has with life, prostitution. And Rumble is about, I think it's mental illness again, but it also seems to deal with some sort of atheist themes. But yeah, Rumble sounds really good, but it's been a long time since I read one of her books. Question number 5 is a bit of a weird one. So the question is a book you haven't read because you read a book by the same author and didn't enjoy it. I thought for a really long time about this and I couldn't think of a good answer. So I went with one of the books that I own. And part of the reason that I haven't read this book, I haven't even tried to read it yet, is because I saw the movie and I didn't like it as much as I expected I would. And I'm really good with movies. There are a lot of types of movies I like, and even movies that a lot of other people will pick apart and be like, oh, this part was shit, this part was shit. I'll still really enjoy it. So the fact that I didn't really like it has sort of turned me off of trying the book. That book that I'm talking about is Atonement by Ian McEwan. I did buy the book after seeing the movie because the The story really appeals to me, and I was hoping that the book would be better. Anyone who is a big reader will always agree that generally the book is better than the movie. So I was hoping that giving this book a read would just be a better experience than watching the movie, and maybe if I do read and enjoy the book, I'll be able to appreciate the movie more fully. But yeah, so I own it, but I've never tried it, and it just never seems to be something I want to reach for. But hopefully one day I will reach for it. Question number 6 is a book you haven't read because you're just not in the mood for it. So the one I picked for this, I feel like you could say that that's the reason for a lot of the books on anybody's to be read list. But the book I picked was 11/22/63 by Stephen King. As you can see, this thing is big. It's a big one, and it sounds super interesting. It's one of his more recent books. It came out in 2002. Okay, so it's been out for a while. But it's kind of about like time travel and issues with time travel and stuff. And it's relating to obviously the assassination of JFK. I like his non-horror books. I really liked Under the Dome, so I thought I would give this one a go. But ever since I bought it, I haven't really been in the mood for that type of story, so I haven't got into it yet. For question number 7, what is a book you haven't read because it's humongous? Obviously, I could have picked 11/22/63 for that, but instead I went with Margaret George's The Memoirs of Cleopatra. It's a big one. It not only is it big, like it's a big like trade paperback style cover, but it's actually not that long. Okay, it's like 950 pages. So I have read much longer books than this. The Game of Thrones books are pretty much all longer than this one, and it does have like a pretty generous sized print. And it sounds really interesting. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. It's about Cleopatra, obviously, and Cleopatra used to be one of my absolute favorite historical figures. I've since sort of moved on to the more Tudor era in England, being like my favorite historical figures, but I'm still really fascinated by like ancient Egypt and Cleopatra and all that. So I do want to read this eventually, but it's really big. So it's not the type of thing that you pick up when you're like, oh, you know, I just want a fun, quick read. But I'll get there. And I think that Margaret George is pretty well liked, so it should be good, but I just haven't got there yet. Question number 8 is a book you haven't read because it was a cover buy that turned out to have poor reviews. So that's not really the way I buy books. I don't usually buy for just the cover, unless you're counting like back cover so I can read the blurb and everything. This one was sort of an impulse type buy like that. Also, I don't really read reviews, and that doesn't really color my opinion of a book. I kind of like to read it on my own. However, the one I picked for this question was The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling. As soon as I knew it was coming out, I had to have it, and I have tried to read it multiple times, but the subject matter just doesn't interest me. It has also had some pretty bad reviews, though lots of people do also like it. They have actually made a mini-series, I believe, in the UK, which I do want to try and find and watch if I can, just so I can finally have the story of it. But yeah, it's just not something that interests me. This is as far as I got the last time I tried to read it. This little bit right here. I got a whole 23 pages in. I really want to like this book, but I'm starting to think that J.K. Rowling should stick to Harry Potter. And then finally, question number 9 is, what is the most intimidating book in your to-be-read pile? This is pretty hard. Some of the other books that I showed you are pretty intimidating for their own reasons. They're pretty big, they're thick, but the one that I'm going to pick for this one is Vanity Fair by W.M. Thackeray. I have watched at least one movie version of it, and I absolutely love the story of Vanity Fair. I find it fascinating, and I have started reading this book multiple times, and I just can't get into it any time that I seem to try. This one again is a big fat guy, and it's kind of scary for a bunch of reasons. I feel like I should absolutely love the story. It just sounds super interesting. I've loved the movies. I love classic British literature for the most part, as long as you go kind of far back. It's such a big cultural book, and I really want to love it, and that's part of what's so intimidating. That plus the number of times that I have tried to start the book and failed to get through it. So yeah, that's going to be my most intimidating. And then question number 10 is just, who do you tag to do this tag as well? The only person I can think of right now that I want to tag is Brittany. So either you should answer the questions in the comments or do a blog post or do a video, whatever you want to do. Go and do that. To anyone else who wants to do the video, go right ahead. I'd love to see blog posts or answers down in the comments or other videos. Let me know if you do it. It'd be cool to see what's on some other people's to be read lists. Also, if you have a Goodreads page, we could be friends on Goodreads. I will leave my Goodreads linked down below, along with all my other social media is always down there as well. And that is the end of this tag. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and subscribe to see more videos from me. And I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys. Hi guys! So today, this video, I am going to be showing you a ton of stuff. So I have this whole giant bag full of stuff and a couple of other smaller bags to show you from a bunch of brands that they sell at London Drugs.